Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Just Fantasy Baseball podcast. My name is Vince Damato. I will be taking you through today's show, running solo. So let's get started right away and dive in for everything that you need to know to win your fantasy baseball leagues. We're going to start with some news and notes, starting with some injury news. First off, Juan Soto is okay. We can breathe a sigh of relief. Rami was right to saying go ahead and start Juan Soto for once. For once, Rami's right. He went and played right field today. Soto did, and we may see some more DH time from him as opposed to right field, but doesn't really matter for us as long as he stays healthy. Everybody hopes for that. Obviously, the Yankees want him to stay healthy, so I assume he will stay healthy. So let's keep him in our lineups. Next is a little bit scary, or it was a scary one. Looks like we got some good news today from Brian Wu out of the Mariners camp. He had to get an MRI, saw some forearm tightness, and we were all pretty scared, right? I mean, he's been pitching phenomenal this year, so that was a little weird to see him go down right before his start the other day. But his MRI came back perfectly clean, according to the manager of the Seattle Mariners, Justin Hollander, and they said Brian Wu could be reinstated into the rotation as early as next week. So fingers crossed. Let's hope everything goes according to plan, but just beware that he may miss a start or two. Next, we have Francisco Alvarez, who was reinstated from the 10-day IL on Tuesday. Mets fans, I'm sure, are ecstatic about that, which the Mets don't have much to be excited about these days, but at least that is one good thing to see Alvarez back behind the dish. He was sidelined with a left thumb fracture and will immediately regain his role as the starting catcher. Should be a plug-in for all of your lineups. If you've been bouncing around with catchers as I have, and Alvarez is available, he should definitely be in your lineups because I think he's best of the waiver options if he is on waivers, which probably not, but potentially could be. So go out and look for Alvarez, see if he's out there, because he should be starting in someone's lineup, hopefully yours. Jurickson Profar had started every game until today. He didn't leave the game. He did not start the game with a sore left knee. Apparently, he's been battling patellar tendonitis. So he may need some imaging on the knee, according to the GM for the Padres, and we will get a potential update on Friday after their day off on Thursday. And he's currently leading the NL in OBP with 424 OBP. Obviously, that's a huge blow for your team. So keep an eye on it. We could see an IL stint. Not sure what that's going to look like. But if Profar's been in your lineup, you've probably been a pretty happy fantasy manager. JT Realmuto is out on the 10-day IL with right knee pain. Don't let the 10 days fool you, though. He is going to miss quite a bit of time. He's undergoing a meniscectomy, whatever the heck that is. I'm not quite sure. I'm not a doctor, but he will be undergoing that test today. So he will be out for, it looks like, at least a month. He's hopeful to return in mid-July. I'm assuming that he's going to potentially come back after the All-Star break, especially if the Phillies are doing super, well, as they have been. Why rush him back? You'd want him healthy. I would think that at that point, if he comes back mid-July, they're just going to say, hey, wait till early August or something. So expect to be without Realmuto for a little while. Your replacements can include guys like Connor Wong or Tyler Stevenson, which was highlighted by our Twitter account. So if you follow our Twitter account, you saw that. Hopefully grabbed one of those two guys. I definitely grabbed both of them in different leagues because they've been hot. Ride them for a little bit while they're hot. Keep rotating catchers in and out as you can. But those are two guys, Connor Wong and Stevenson, that can help replace Realmuto for a little bit. Last one here that I'll mention is Robert Gasser, pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers, is likely out for the season with a left flexor strain. Pat Murphy, the manager for the Brewers, is uncertain about how the treatment will go, what the timeline is going to look like, or what he's going to do essentially. So that tells me it must have been a pretty bad strain. If he was only out with a left flexor strain, it must have been a pretty severe strain. I don't know if they're thinking Tommy John. We don't really know the extent, but I anticipate he will be out for the season. And that's tough for fantasy managers, right? Because Gasser was settling in nicely with a 2.57 ERA and 5 starts. Obviously, it's tough for fantasy managers, but I'm sure the Brewers fans are also pretty upset because They loved Robert Gasser. He's a fan favorite up there. So sad to see him go. Another guy who went, and let's move on to trades here, is Kevin Biggio. Went to the Dodgers for minor league pitcher Braden Fisher. I'm not sure that this has a whole lot of fantasy relevance to 10 to 12 teamers, maybe some 15 team viability, but I'm not really rushing out to get him in 15s. Maybe $1 on Fab or something, a couple bucks, whatever. But I'm not really anticipating a whole lot here. Biggio could unlock something with the Dodgers that maybe Toronto didn't really see. That feels like a big maybe, but we've been waiting for a while on Biggio and nothing's really come of it. So not really quite sure what the Dodgers could do with him. It feels like a Chris Taylor 2.0. If you've been following the Dodgers, right, they kind of love their super utility guys. Chris Taylor's one of them. And I would say there's fantasy relevance if there's a big injury or if there's some hot, cold stretches from him or another player, right? Maybe he gets a little bit of run. So just something to keep your eye on because obviously the Dodgers are a much more potent offense than the Toronto Blue Jays. And even if you're hitting 9th in the Dodgers lineup, you're still probably fantasy relevant, but you probably won't see consistent playing time. So, but just keep your eye on it. Biggio to the Dodgers. Hopefully they can unlock something that Toronto could not. And I did want to mention fantasy headlines. One guy, I could have put him in the who's hot category today, but I figured no, that feels like a cheap shot because I've talked about this guy nonstop, and that is Royce Lewis. He is a man possessed since coming back from the IL. In just 8 games, he's 9 for 28, but 5 of those 9 hits, are home runs. Yes, he has 5 home runs in 8 games. And today alone, he was 3 for 5 with a home run, 3 runs, and 2 RBIs. Season slash line of 367, 394, 933 slug. There's nothing more to say other than just Royce, stay healthy. I don't care if you get 0 steals. I just don't care. You're one of the best hitters in the game. And I truly mean one of the best hitters in the game. You're talking MVP potential candidate. Don't let the short sample size fool you. He definitely has the ability to maintain, maybe not quite this pace, but he has the ability to be one of the best hitters in the game throughout an entire season. He's just got to stay healthy for the entire season. Last but not least in the news, I did want to give a rundown of the streamer that I told you guys to run with on Sunday. And that was yesterday's matchup. Randy Vasquez went against Oakland. Randy Vasquez for the San Diego Padres against Oakland yesterday. And Vasquez went 5 innings, 1 earned. We'll take that, right? I mean, it definitely lowers your ERA a little bit, but he did give up 7 hits and 2 walks to just 5 strikeouts. So you'll take the 5 Ks, but the whip maybe took a little bit of a hit. Either way, for a guy who's rostered in 17% of leagues, I think if you're, running him out for a 15-team start or a 15-team league, you're probably pretty happy with it. So Randy Vasquez, good start yesterday against Oakland. And this is going to lead me to tell you to watch out for Simeon Woods Richardson, right? Because he will be starting on Friday against Oakland. I also mentioned him on Sunday as a streaming option this week. He's rostered in 46% of leagues. So go out and get Simeon Woods Richardson because I will start anyone with a pulse against Oakland. I don't care who it is. If I'm starting against Oakland, you should probably throw me out there in your fantasy lineup as well. So again, Simeon Woods Richardson on Friday. Make sure you pick him up for his streaming start. Now let's move on to who's hot and who's not. So I'm going to start with the who's hot here with a guy in the Toronto Blue Jays, Spencer Horwitz. He is a guy who just recently came up and he's played only 5 games, but he's looked pretty good in those 5 games. So far, he is slashing 389, 476, 444. So low slugging compared to the average in OBP. And he's not going to bring much power, but he will bring a really good batting average on top of a good lineup. So hopefully a lot of run production from there. Good batting average. You may not get a lot of RBIs and home runs, but in maybe 15-team leagues or if you have a deep lineup in 12 teams, he could definitely slot in because could always use more runs. And just to show you that it's not a fluke, last season in AAA, he hit 337 with 10 home runs in 107 games. Again, Spencer Horwitz, he's not going to bring you a lot of power, maybe some double-digit home runs. His batting average might hover around 300. He's not going to give you any speed, but either way, it looks like it's a good player that can be in your lineup daily. And he appears to be taking the spot of Davis Schneider. You can keep an eye on this situation, but if I'm in 12-team leagues, I'm probably dropping Davis Schneider. And in 15s, if you can get your hands on Horwitz, I absolutely would be. Again, maybe deep 12s, but Davis Schneider looks to be losing a little bit of playing time. Horwitz does feel a little bit more sustainable, I think, than Schneider did. I'm still rooting for Schneider. Love Schneider. Obviously, he came up and had one of the most exciting come-ups that we've seen in recent history, but Horwitz just feels a little bit more stable up there. So hopefully he can stick and he can be a help for you in your fantasy lineups. Who is not hot? And this one hurts me a little bit because former Cub and a guy that I hold near and dear to my heart, I have a signed baseball of him somewhere around here, Anthony Rizzo for the New York Yankees has been ice cold. And with the return of DJ LeMahieu, it looks like Rizzo is seeing less and less playing time. To be fair, he's not really earning it either. He's hitting just 219 this season. He's got 7 home runs, which fine, that's something. But DJ LeMahieu returning to the lineup is going to bump Rizzo out. If you're holding on to Rizzo, I'd probably drop him. DJ, though, is not really setting the world on fire. He's only got a 222 batting average, but he has a 349 OBP right now, which is going to keep him in the lineup over Rizzo's 277. Rizzo's one of the greatest clubhouse guys you could probably ask for, but when it comes to fantasy, he may not be the best fantasy option. You're probably much better off streaming other first basemen, whoever's out there, Josh Bell or whoever else you can find. I'd rather be going with the hot hand than sticking it out with Anthony Rizzo at this point. Now we can move on to the buy low, sell high portion of this show. Buying low. Who am I buying low on? Well, it's a guy that I had in ace territory this offseason. I seriously thought he was going to put up ace numbers, and I still think he is certainly capable of that. And that is Pablo Lopez for the Minnesota Twins. His surface numbers look atrocious. You see a 5.33 ERA and a 1.21 WHIP. That's not good. There's no way around that. The only way I can tell you, and I can show you some of the underlying stuff, is that he's been one of the unluckiest pitchers so far in baseball. His expected ERA is 3.18, so a full over 2 runs lower than his actual ERA. He strikes guys out at a good clip, 26% clip. He walks guys at just a 5 to 6% rate. He doesn't allow hard contact. He has a decent ground ball rate. I don't see why we couldn't expect the rest of the season to go just like how we thought it was going to go for Pablo Lopez. I would be looking to buy him in like a low SP2, high SP3 territory, and he could absolutely return ace values for the rest of the season. I mean, even if it takes him another week or two, I don't even know if it's an issue or it's just been unlucky. Like I mentioned, if things will just start rolling his way or what, but I'm certainly looking and seeing the surface numbers not lining up with the underlying stuff with Pablo Lopez. And I'm willing to take the gamble. Again, if you need an arm, Pablo Lopez is certainly one to go out there that you can, I think, buy and get a good return on your investment for. Selling high. Who am I selling high on? It's a guy that I have in a couple of my lineups because I've been riding this guy's hot streak. That is Heimer Candelario for the Cincinnati Reds. Obviously, if you haven't been paying attention, CES just went down and is potentially going to miss the entire year now with a wrist surgery. So originally I thought, okay, when CES comes back and Noelvi Marte comes back, Candelario could find himself as an odd man out. It doesn't look like that, right? It looks like, okay, without CES, Noelvi coming up, it's going to be Noelvi and Candelario at the corners. Especially when Candelario hit 2 home runs today and people are thinking, wow, like this he's locked into playing time. He's going to hit a lot of home runs. Like he's got 11 home runs so far this season. Season slash line of 240, 304, 471. And I'm reading all this and people are probably going, Vince, why are you selling Candelario? Like he's got everything going for him. Well, I'll tell you why. His expected batting average is 223. he does not hit the ball hard. His average exit velo is 86.2, which is 12th percentile in the league. He's got an okay barrel rate and an okay sweet spot. And those, I think, are the only things, that and the park factor, are the only things that are keeping him basically fantasy relevant in 12-team leagues. If you have 15-team leagues, I understand, you should be starting him pretty much universally somewhere. But if you're in 12-team leagues, I would absolutely be trying to sell Candelario as a potential, first base solution. If you're a team that has two solid first base, if you have Vinny P and Candelario, or Matt Olson Candelario, Alonso Candelario, whatever, Candelario and somebody else that you feel confident in, I'd absolutely be trying to ship off Candelario, because I think this is a little bit fluky. Again, he's hitting one of the best parks. The lineup, I think, is going to slightly improve, especially when Welby comes back. CES going down locks him into playing time, but none of the underlying stuff looks good. I mean, you look at a Savant page and it is all ice cold blue. His bat speed is 10th percentile. Again, hard hit percentage is 20th percentile. He chases too much. He doesn't strike, or he doesn't walk a whole lot. He strikes out way too much. It doesn't look good. So I would be cashing out if you can on Candelario. So that does it for the buy low, sell high portion. Again, buying low on Pablo Lopez, selling high on Candelario. Let's move over to our final segment of the show, and that is the prospect report. Still sponsored by nobody. I don't think we're actually looking for sponsors, but let's start with one of the guys that I've been super excited about for the last, I don't even know how long, year. And especially this year, I thought he'd be the starting shortstop for the Arizona Diamondbacks. He ended up getting hurt and didn't quite work out that way. And that is Jordan Lawler. If you haven't been following his progress, he made his way back from his wrist injury, and he had his first rehab start today. He went 3 for 6 with a home run and a double in his first rehab start. And the Diamondbacks have made it clear that when he's ready, when he's done with his rehab assignment, he will be back in the major leagues. Nobody has really won that shortstop job, right? Perdomo has been hurt and didn't look like the Perdomo from last year, the All-Star that we saw. And I certainly think that Lawler is the spark, or could be a potential spark, that they're hoping for. Arizona struggles a little bit, so I think they're looking for anything that they can get at this point. And I think people forget Lawler is a top 10 fantasy prospect. Like, I don't think you can put 10 guys in front of him, if we need to talk about in the prospect world, even with all of these buzzy names like James Wood and Caminero, and even if you want to throw Paul Skeens or whoever in there, right? I still think Lawler has that upside where it's just like you can't ignore it, right? And so this is one of those under the radar guys. Again, he's not James Wood, he's not Caminero, but if you look at his numbers last year in AAA, he hit 358 with a 438 OBP and a 612 slugging percentage. That's good for a 150 WRC plus. And across both levels, he had AA and AAA under his belt last year. He had 36 stolen bases and 20 home runs. Phenomenal numbers. And again, at AAA, just a 15% strikeout rate, 11% walk rate. Like, all of these numbers tell me that he is an elite fantasy prospect, and he's been doing it for years and years now in the minor leagues. He looks absolutely ready. He didn't have the best MLB debut last year, but I would be using that debut to buy low or pick him up now, or whatever the case is, because again, we're talking like top 10 fantasy prospect here. And when a guy has this much upside, you absolutely want to take a gamble if you can. Again, if it pays off, great. If not, at this point, you can probably drop him and move on. But I would anticipate it's more than likely that he's going to return some value. Again, he's just got to stay healthy and start playing, right? We've seen a lot of guys fail, but Lawler is definitely one of the higher rated guys that we will see come up this year. Next, from the prospect report, we saw Drew Thorpe make his MLB debut. Congrats to Drew Thorpe. I know he's had quite a roller coaster since he's been traded around quite a few times. He's a pitcher for the Chicago White Sox, and his first start didn't go that great. But one thing that he has going for him, and I don't know if you can use this as an argument for him or against him, he has an incredible changeup. Like, we're talking 70 grade changeup. It's one of the better changeups in the minor leagues and one of the better ones that we've seen over the last few years. It kind of reminds me of like a Gavin Stone-esque vibe, right? He kind of tends to lead with it, and he, it's one of his best pitches. So if anyone has followed the career line or career arc of Gavin Stone, he started off really, really bad, right? If you remember last year, Gavin Stone, it did not go well for him, but it looks like he's kind of figured it out this year. And so I am anticipating Drew Thorpe trying to learn from whatever Gavin Stone's mistakes were. I'm not anticipating him to replicate those results right away. So, Stone has it figured out right now, but it took him a while. I think at this point, Thorpe is like, he can stream him in 12s, but he probably should be rostered on all 15 teams, at least for now, because his upside is very good. I'd say it's probably better than Gavin Stone's upside. We've seen him traded for some big names. So, yeah, he's got the potential. Again, roster him in 15s if you can. Stream him in 12s. He's got some good upside to him. So Drew Thorpe, look out for him. And then the last note on the prospects, again, another one that hurts me a little bit that I kind of flubbed on Sunday. I said, go pick up Joey Loperfido. And what do? 3 days later, they send him back down. This has been a whole head scratching situation. I understand why they did it. For anyone who hasn't followed, Loperfido came up and did not play. And then I said, I don't understand. I think they're going to play him soon. They're not going to run out Chas McCormick, who is not even hitting his own body weight. They're going to eventually hit Loperfido, and he's going to stick. But he did not. Yainer Diaz had a thumb injury and missed a few games. And so the Astros sent Loperfido down to get some catching depth from Cesar Salazar. We might not be seeing Loperfido come back anytime soon, which is really unfortunate. Kyle Tucker will be returning from his injury soon here soon. And that was kind of the whole reason Loperfido came up. I anticipated Loperfido forcing their hand and, saying, I'm the better player. If you guys want to win, keep me in your lineup. But doesn't appear that they're going to do that. My apologies for telling you to pick him up, because I went and picked him up. But he didn't even make a start. So kind of a weird situation. Again, maybe if Yainer didn't get hurt, we would see a little bit more from him. But, it's just kind of an odd situation. I do anticipate in the long run, Loperfido is going to get some good, obviously some playing time, hopefully by next year. But this year it might be kind of tough. He might be scratching and clawing. So you can definitely go ahead and drop him in pretty much every format, 12s and 15s. I'm not going to be holding on to him in hopes that he can come back, because, the Astros have not shown anything that gives me any faith that they're going to play him. So that will do it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Keep sending in mailbag questions. We're going to hopefully answer those this Sunday. If you have any questions, please reach out to me directly. I'd love to chat fantasy baseball and help anyone win their leagues, and give Rami some crap for not showing up today. Just kidding. I know he's traveling. He's enjoying his vacation. Rami, we miss you. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. Let me know. And again, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to YouTube, whatever you can do. Really appreciate everything that you guys do. So thank you. And until next time, take care.